Welcome to 5 Minute Music. Today's video is about the reasons you should learn music. For about 8 years, I spent several hours a day practicing my instrument. I went through music school. I spent so much time and energy on music, and then I graduated and I pretty much took a break. Music was still my job. It was still something I sort of did as a hobby. I wasn't burnt out, but I was ready to try some different things and spend my time on things that I hadn't been able to before. So I went from spending hours and hours a day working on music to not doing it hardly at all, and I had to ask myself, what was the point? And if you're watching this, you're probably wondering, well, why should I invest the time? What's the point of that? And I have some things for you to consider. So the first thing is the obvious thing. It's the thing that draws you to music. It's cool, it's fun, it's something that people naturally enjoy. But there's other things that are fun that we don't see as a good use of time. So we need other reasons. Cigarette. Also, while we have her here, this cat really loves the piano, so when I'm playing piano, she'll always come and sit by me or jump up on top of the bench and just hang out. So being able to make music for other people or creatures and having them enjoy it, that's also a really cool thing. The next one that's really been a huge part of my life is music is a great way to meet people. I think I have one friend that I didn't meet through music, and even then they were friends with someone that I knew from orchestra, so that's a little dicey. Pretty much all of the people that are in my social circle I met through music one way or another. I'm very shy, and so being in orchestra or some sort of group like that, that was really the only thing that gave me any shot at meeting people, so that has been very worthwhile. The next one, I notice now that I'm not in music school. When I was in music school, this wasn't the case, but I find now that music is a really great stress reliever. When I come home at the end of a long day, I can practice something on the piano and just feel myself get calmer. Instead of having so many different thoughts in my head, I can just focus it in on music. It's almost meditative, and there's other things that are calming like that, but with music you're working specifically on improving a skill, and I think that having a goal and feeling like you're improving, those are two things that are going to make you feel better about yourself in the long run. And then the last one, and this is the most important one, this is the big takeaway that I got. Music helps you develop a growth mindset. And I see this a lot with beginning musicians. They tend to think, oh, I can't do this, I'm not talented at this, it's just not my thing. But I think what music has taught me is if I practice something and I'm very intentional about it, I spend time on it, if I do those things, I can pretty much learn anything. And specifically the thing that I learned in music that has been applicable to so many areas in my life is how to practice. So I wanted to learn how to knit. I am not a very good visual learner, which seems to be important for learning how to knit. I've never been good at knot tying, which is basically what knitting is. And I get very frustrated when I'm making mistakes on things that are tangible. When I make mistakes with music, it's fine because that mistake disappears the instant that it's over. But with things like knitting, you can kind of always see where that mistake happened, or you have to go back and actually deal with it. So knitting was not really something that I thought was up my alley, but I wanted to learn how to do it, and I knew that if I used some of the practice strategies that I had learned through music, that I would be successful with it eventually. So I started off learning the basic stitch, which took me a while because it was frustrating. And pretty much anytime I encountered a problem, I would research, what am I doing wrong? And I had someone helping me through the process. And then once I got the hang of it, I was like, okay, I need to practice this skill a bunch before I think I'll be ready to actually do something with it. So I started with this bookmark here, and what I was specifically working on with this was, I don't know the technical term for it, but turning around, so knitting one row and then starting the next row. I was not very good at starting each row, so I wanted to make sure I got a ton of practice with that. And then this is where I learned how to cast off, which is why it looks ugly up there. So I started with that, and then I wanted more practice casting off, so ending your stitches. So I made a bunch of very, very small knits like this, just so I could practice casting on, starting some rows, and casting off. So I have this one, which looks like a cat toy, got this one, which also looks like a cat toy, and I just practice like that. Repetition on the things that I thought I was bad at, repetition on the things that I did not mentally understand, because that is a big thing that I've learned through practicing. I have a pretty good gauge on how well I know something. I know what it feels like to be able to do something but be really unsure of it, to be able to do something and be pretty sure of it, and to be able to do something and be 100% sure of it. And so I worked until I was 100% sure, and then my next project was this gigantic scarf, which actually turned out pretty nice. So learning music taught me how to start learning something, identify what I'm bad at, strategies to improve so I'm no longer bad at that thing, and then also the perseverance to just do a bunch of repetitions until I make something that I'm happy with. And yeah, there's a bunch of different activities that you can do to learn those things, but there's something kind of special about music that makes it feel worthwhile. And now that I have put in all that time on music, I can just casually be a really good violinist and start learning some other things, which I'm excited about. So if you are a beginner and you're thinking, should I learn music? The answer is yes, I think. If you're someone that's halfway through a music degree and you're like, should I continue? That's a tougher question to answer, but I can say from my experience that I'm happy with what I learned and how it applies to other areas of my life. I hope this video was helpful, gave you some things to think about, and hopefully gave you an interest in learning music or maybe even knitting. I don't think knitting's as fun as music, but you can debate me in the comments. Alright, thanks for watching!